Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today is our 14th episode of Inspiration with Ines, inspiring conversations about wedding planning. And today we are super excited. Melissa Andre is going to be on this episode. She is creative consultant and founder of Melissa Andre Design Company. She is renowned for creating distinctively whimsical designs with an unexpected edge. Melissa's expertise extends across brand collaborations, art direction, styling, retail solutions, and special events, which range from intimate celebrity weddings to grand music, album release parties, and award shows. Her signature style seamlessly blends four diverse ingredients: alchemy, edge, luxury, and balance, revolutionizing the way people interact with brands, experiences, and products. Andre's innovative designs have afforded her a growing roster of A-list clientele, including Drake, Victoria Beckham, The Weeknd, Louis Vuitton, Jessica Alba. Excited.
Hi, how are you? I'm I'm not even in the lounge. Can you hear me? I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me?
I can
Can you
hear
guys
you
hear me?
just fine. Yep. Yeah, I can hear you. We're so
All of a sudden
excited to
now
have you.
all of a sudden now I can only kind of hear you. But
Okay.
I was
All
like
right.
not
Well,
going to miss it, and I planned on doing this from actually. Okay, go ahead.
no, that's okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I I'm roaming. This is like not how I planned on doing this. I got Bisha in Toronto to give me like this gorgeous suite with like this gorgeous lounge, and I love them and they did. And then I kind of like in the middle of the night got this like email that my flight was being moved up, and then of course I bothered you in the middle of the night with like a 911. So I was like, don't worry, I'll do it from the lounge at the airport. And then I got to the airport, they're like, the lounge is closed. So now I'm in like a
No.
restaurant. Yeah, I'm in like a restaurant. And I was like, I hope you don't mind. I'll be filming a live. I can't miss it. So we're going to do our best. And worst case scenario, we have to do a part two. But I think this is going to work. And it's just going to be like, you know, an
Yeah.
impromptu airport jet set live.
I think it's fine. We can hear you just fine. Thank
Okay.
you, Melissa. So I'm super happy to have you here. I know that you go between Toronto and Los Angeles and you fly a lot to visit so many of your clients and do these events. We're super excited with everything that you've been up to. So I want to just jump in and really ask, what inspired you to launch your career and how did you get into being a celebrity event planner?
Well, when I started doing events, I was working in the fashion industry. So I was doing fashion shows, I was working in beauty. I was not doing private events. And at the time, this was like pre-Instagram, not to sound so whatever,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
old. But this was pre-Instagram. And like, people just didn't have access to those type of events. And I saw this like huge divide between like the aesthetic in like the fashion crowd, and then what private events look like weddings. And when I would go to weddings or birthdays or social events, I was like, this is like not really my aesthetic. And like there's this huge gap there. So I'm sure that there's like fashionable and chic and like artistic women and people who are getting married who would love like a different kind of like take an aesthetic that feels like that has like a bit more of like an edge, or that feels like a little fashion forward or whatever it was. So I literally just started my business hoping that other people would kind of like my aesthetic, or like kind of agreed that they would totally like to see a different version of what was going on. So I moved from New York to Toronto because when you're Canadian, you can't like just so easily start a business in the US. So I moved back home, and we were really busy very, very soon. And then when it made sense, when like I had enough work in the US and my clients were demanding, you know, for me to be in the US, I kind of made the move, and now I almost like come back to Toronto as a destination.
Right, right. And I've had the pleasure of actually attending one of your weddings. And really you marry this like dream sequence with this reality. It's almost like you would never imagine it to be real unless you've actually witnessed it for your very own eyes. So I was very, very impressed by that wedding and being able to kind of actually see what it is you're creating for these brides. How do you get your inspiration? Like where do you come up with these ideas? They're phenomenal.
Oh gosh, thanks. I should be like double interviewing you and ask you guys the same thing. But I mean, I never really I try just to never really pull from other events. I don't like to follow event trends. And I think that's why like sometimes someone will reference work of mine from like 15 years ago. And like they can't even tell it was 15 years ago, you know, because I like really kind of try and stay away from anything that is being like overdone, or is that is a trend within the event industry. And
Right.
instead, I mean, I just kind of like I have this little recipe that's like my recipe for success and that fits my aesthetic, which you talked about, which is like edge, it's luxury, it's alchemy, and then it's like all balanced in the way that I don't love when someone walks in and then they're like, oh, this was expensive, or like, oh, I get it, it's like Peter Pan, or you know, something like
Right.
that. Like I like for it to be like a mix, and that's why I think balance is like also equally as important in there, because balancing like all of those aesthetics and all of those kind of, you know, moods,
Mhm.
you know, gives you like an overall look that I love, at least, you know, and that we kind of try and put into all of our work.
I think that's why, your designs lend themselves so well to an Inez bride. I think all those things that you talked about, it is about striking that perfect balance between all those things, like you said, luxury, alchemy, and I think that's probably why you have a long list of celebrities. Can you tell us a little bit more about what it's like designing for celebrities like Drake or Victoria Beckham?
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest differences, like with working with celebrities, than non-celebrities,
Yeah.
is like it's things like timeline, you know, and it's like, you know, the timelines are much shorter. They have access to like a million people, so you really have to kind of be like the best at what you do. They can kind of fly you wherever, so you don't automatically get that like, well, I'm local, like I'll get hired because of that. And they've seen a lot, so you have to like kind of really impress them, you know. And
Right.
I do kind of tell people that like you don't start doing a specific type of work after you book a celebrity. It's actually the other way around. So the type of work that I'm doing for celebrities, I was doing actually way before I started working for celebrities for everyone else. The work was
Right.
always kind of there. And then
Right.
if a celebrity loves it, and if that becomes your niche because you can support that with, you know, like the R&D that we do in the background, with the level of service, with our processes that like really work with a celebrity schedule, then that's great. But you don't kind of like do one level of work and then you get a celebrity and then you kind of switch it up. Like I was not saving my ideas for when I kind of got there. I was just always kind of doing it.
Right.
And a lot of people ask me how to work with celebrities, and then I've always just had them reach out to me. I've never done
Correct.
anything else. So I always tell them like, you know, first really, really focus on like your work and your craft. And if it's the right work for a celebrity, then they'll come.
Right. Right. So what would you say is your favorite part about planning these amazing events for your clients? And what would you find is the most challenging? What can you tell our brides?
Yeah, well, the most amazing part is that unlike any other type of design, event design is like very temporary. So you
Mhm.
can be really risky with your design choices, because this is not, you know, the sofa you're going to sit in every day with your family for 10 years. This is not the kitchen build out that needs to like increase the value of the home. This is like, you know, it's not something like that. It's literally like, how do we want to feel for like 6 hours? And then we can like move on to something else, like a new look. Your next party can look different. You can go home, that can look different. You can travel and like, you know, go to a hotel that looks different. So that's like the best part, is that
Right.
like it can be temporary and fun and like magical and really transport you, because you don't need to commit to it for longer than a couple of hours. And I think that's the best.
Yeah. When I was talking to you about how you design and, you know, how you create these impactful events, you talked about how you actually approach it with a holistic kind of view, and you look at it from a beginning, a middle, and an end. So you actually think about moments within the wedding day, and you try to capture all of that. Can you tell our brides a little bit more about that? Because that's, I think, the meat and the potatoes of really what's exciting about how you approach your craft. And I think brides that are looking to get married should be listening to how you approach that.
Yeah, I mean, like I have such a system that I've perfected over the last like 12, 13, 14 years. And I mean, we call it like the Madco method. We have these 6 phases of planning, and like you must kind of follow 1 through 6. That's how you get the budget on point. That's how, like, you know, the design is cohesive. That's how you're just kind of doing it the best possible way. And like, trust me, we've tried every single way. And I think because we're so design focused, and also because we do so many projects at once, it's really
Right.
important that we kind of like follow this method that kind of leads to the best possible product. And like during COVID, I always had like an internal document that was like Madco method that like Madco used. And, you know, we have like an internal CRM that we use. And I like finally put it down on paper, because I was like talking to so many brides. Like they were like, oh no, my wedding has been like canceled. I need to do it at home. Like, what do I do? And I was like, I have to like put our method down, like step 1, phase 1 through 6, so that, you know, and I made it like a downloadable PDF. It's in our shop.
All right.
I actually made you guys, any brides that are listening, I made like an Ines promo code, INES.
Great.
So yeah, if any
Yeah.
of your listeners or brides ever want to download it, it'll give it to you for like half off. So it's
Good.
like, yeah, it's quick, it's easy, and it's like just like the perfect thing to reference. And there's just like such a rhyme or reason to it. Like, for example, I only get to design in phase 4, which is
Right.
like not what people like, because design is like very exciting. So, you know,
Right.
but I had a lot of brides who were like, how do I make sure it's cohesive? I've done the sofa, but now I feel like it doesn't match the cake or, you know, whatever. And the
Yeah.
reason that it's easy for it to become kind of uncohesive or incohesive is because, you know, sometimes people are buying a dress and then they start thinking about cake, and then they do their invitation after, but they haven't really designed their, you know, whatever it is. And
Right.
so I just find it's like so important. So I hope
Right.
it helps anyone who's planning their own wedding to kind of like
Right.
follow along and understand.
Now, what about for brides that are looking to hire you for their weddings? I mean, a lot of them have put their plans on hold and have decided to wait. And now, you know, things are opening up. You know, we've seen better days. Are you able to take on some more events? Are you fully booked? What's your schedule look like?
Yeah, I mean, the schedule is like so
Insane.
insane right now, because there's so many more brides, and then we have like the
Right.
revenge wedding planning
Yeah.
happening, which is like,
Right.
I canceled my, you know, 100-person ballroom wedding twice, so now I'm having 500 people in Italy, and I'm
Yeah.
flying them all out, you know. Like, I have a client who like literally bought a home so that they could like do it
Wow.
in their backyard. They're like, I bought a different home
Yeah.
with a backyard. Like, we are putting up a tent. We are doing the wedding. Like, people are really going all out.
Yeah.
Because it's been
Yeah.
canceled. They couldn't do their bachelorette. They couldn't do their bridal shower. They couldn't
Right.
celebrate their husband's 40th birthday, you know, whatever it is.
Yes. Yeah.
So, but it's different because, you know, the team is back, and we can manage a lot of projects. So
Yeah, I know.
happy to kind of talk to everyone, and we did introduce just for the next year or two, like month of coordination again, because I love month of coordination, and we were only doing full planning, but there's just so many people because of the situation that we're in who've kind of
Yeah,
like are in betweeny situations that we kind of
right,
brought it
right.
back for a little bit, because there's just no way to
Yeah,
have a wedding without at least a month of coordinator like there on your side, making sure things happen the way you want them to. I just
got
did
it.
month of on Saturday
Right.
for
Oh, right.
my
That's
first ever intern ever.
that. Wow. And
I
how
know.
far in advance do you suggest brides book an event designer? What's the typical lead time?
Well, you'll see in the Madco Method doc, it's phase one. You should book phase one, your event designer. And even if you're only going to do a month of planner, you should also reserve the date. So anything that is a service by someone that can only be done by them the way that it's done, you have to get out of the way at the very beginning. So if you want like a specific band, if you want like an artistic photographer, if you want like a certain designer, event designer, then that kind of comes first before you start booking things like furniture, flowers, cake, stationery, AV, anything like that.
And what makes you a match made in heaven with the perfect couple? What would you say are the traits that lend themselves to a perfect couple? What is it that they are looking for that you
Well,
can offer?
I think that like a Madco bride like really wants to kind of go on this like creative journey and wants to enjoy themselves on the day and be like a guest at their own wedding.
Oh, I love
Definitely
that.
someone who takes like design risks, and who
Yeah,
wants their guests to like really be swept away. Those
yeah,
are like the perfect brides for us. We kind of sit, I have this like a lengthy questionnaire that I do
yeah.
with my brides, because it's and grooms and couples, because they so often are like, you do, whatever you want. Don't let me dictate the design. You're the designer. But I don't actually do exactly what I want. I have a bunch of things that I'm working on all the time, like in my head and in our studio, like prototyping. And then I do this like extensive questionnaire before we get started, and I want to know like what movies they like. I want to know like what hotels they stay at. I like to know what
Right,
colors they hate. I like to know their favorite furniture designer. I like to know
right.
everything, and it gives me like a good sense of like what their taste is, because I have like such a vision for what the event can look like, and I don't even know if it's fair to ask someone who doesn't design events what their vision is, because I've been thinking about this for 15 years potentially,
Right.
so I like to ask them about their taste in other things, and then we kind of like marry this like perfect experience type of thing.
I love that. When you were talking about what makes them the right couple, really it lends itself even to an Inez bride.
Definitely.
All those things that you mentioned, they're definitely preoccupied with, fashion, luxury, being fresh, taking design risks, not being like not being status quo and not necessarily doing anything that someone else has done.
And
And
also that process, like the Ines
yeah,
process is bespoke, truly like ours. Like in your
right,
prototyping, you like make the dress on the bride's body. I've been there many times. I've
right,
had many Ines
yeah.
brides. I like it's my main fitting that I love to go to, because like seeing the transformation of like that muslin like into what it ends up being on the
Right.
day is like, it's just so artistic.
It is. Yeah. The custom design process is so unique and it is something that, you can enjoy the journey. It's exactly what you just said. So, oh my gosh. Well, I cannot believe you are the queen of pivot. Here you're being called to the airport way earlier than you've been asked. And of course, I'm not surprised you made it happen. And I'm just so thankful that we were able to connect and you were able to make it here and really give all of our brides something to really think about. And I'm just so excited. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. I would literally do this anywhere for you. I would get on live from Mars for you guys. I love you guys. I am like fully in a pizza restaurant, and the girl was like, to go over there. She gave me a bottle of water. I was changing into my like Versace dress, and she's like, "This is the most excitement we've had." I was like, "This is very important." So I'm so glad we got to do it. I could literally talk to you for like 10 hours. So I'm sure we will like after this, but I'm always here for you guys, and any of the listeners or any brides, like if you ever want to send me a question, or Madco, which is Melissa on Your Design Company, a question, we're always here. And yeah, good luck to everyone planning their first, second, third, fourth, fifth wedding.
I'm so excited, and we need to meet at Bisha definitely when you're back.
Yes.
Have a safe flight, and thank you so much for joining. Really
Thank
miss you,
you.
girl.
Thank you. I miss you. See you.
Bye.
Bye.